Welcome to Champion Minded, the podcast for those who aim for excellence, not only in the sports arena, but in life. My name is Allistair, author, speaker, mindset and performance coach, and my goal is to help you unleash your unlimited potential and provide you with the tools to achieve greatness. Are you ready to become champion minded? Then let's do this. Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome to the Champion Minded podcast. I'm Allistair McCaw. In this episode, I'm going to be sharing with you 5 encounters I've had with Roger Federer. Now, throughout my career, I've been super lucky, super blessed to be around some of the best athletes in the world. And one of those athletes is the man himself, the Swiss Maestro, Roger Federer. Now, you've probably watched him on TV. You've maybe even been lucky enough to see him at a tournament live. But I wanted to share with you some of the behind the scenes things of what I've encountered with Roger himself. But before we get into those 5 encounters, I want to remind you that my new book, Lead with Purpose, Make an Impact, is available on Amazon on the 25th of November 2021. If you're a coach, manager, leader, or you might know one, this book will be super beneficial to you or to them. It's 44 lessons in effective coaching and leadership. A lot of the chapters, a lot of the information comes from the sporting world. So if you enjoy leadership, sports, coaching, this is the book for you. So again, Lead with Purpose, Make an Impact. It's available on Amazon on the 25th of November. But moving on. Encounter number 1 with the Federers. It was the 2010 US Open, and I was standing outside waiting for transportation from the site back to the hotel. And Roger's parents, so the first encounter, let me put it that way, wasn't actually with Roger himself. It was with his parents, Robert and Lynette. Now, some of you might know that I'm from South Africa. I was brought up in South Africa. So Roger's mother is from South Africa as well. So she speaks Afrikaans. I speak a little bit of Afrikaans because we had learned it in school. And we just struck up a conversation, spoke about the good times back in South Africa. You know how conversations are. Is that place still there? What does this look like? Etc., etc. And we know that Roger does a lot of charity work in Africa. But I had the most enlightening conversation with his father and mother, Lynette and Robert, standing outside waiting for transportation. And I can tell you this, they are the most lovely and down-to-earth people you will ever meet. So if you're wondering how Roger is such a nice guy, respectable, one of the most liked athletes in the world, well, the good thing is that the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. So my first encounter was at the US Open, waiting for transportation with Roger's parents, Lynette and Robert. My second encounter came in Monte Carlo, obviously at the Monte Carlo Rolex Masters. And at that time, I was working with my good friend Xavier Melisse. And a side story to that, Xavier actually was in the same age group as Roger growing up, and they played many times in the junior tournaments. And Xavier always had the best of Roger. In fact, he beat Roger 6-love, 6-1 in a junior tournament, and he said he even gave that one game as a gift. But little did he know, and little did those other competitors know in the juniors, of how good Roger would go on to be. I mean, call it if you want, the GOAT of tennis. I know there's that debate with Roger and Rafa and Novak, etc., but probably obviously one of the most influential players of our time. But it was at the Monte Carlo Masters, and his coach Severin had asked if Xavier would practice with Roger. Now, when you get a chance to practice with Roger Federer, you do. Anyway, I was super excited. This would be the first time I'd be on the same court as this great. I couldn't believe it. I can tell you I was even nervous at breakfast thinking about it. And I'd been already on the tour for 10 years, having worked with some great players. But this was Roger Federer. This was different. So anyway, we get to the court and I fed the first ball of the practice. And let me tell you what happened. My arm froze. My body froze. When I hit the ball on the strings, it probably went no further than 10 feet in front of me. It didn't even reach the net. Roger was on the other side waiting for the ball, waiting for me to feed the ball. And of course, laughter erupted. Now, if I could have dug a hole on that Monte Carlo tennis court that day, I would. Xavier had a good laugh. Severin had a good laugh. I felt as small as anything. And let me put it this way. I didn't feed a ball for the rest of the practice. I just gave the balls to Xavier and he could do it. So that was my first actual encounter with Roger himself. I embarrassed myself. They found it funny. It was good lighthearted comedy. And we had a great photo afterwards, which I still have on my mantelpiece here in the office to this day. The third encounter with Roger Federer was actually 1.5 weeks later in Madrid. And I was looking for someone to warm up with Xavier. Xavier was going to be playing in the qualifications that week in Madrid. And, well, who walks past is Severin, Roger's coach. So I asked Severin, does Roger want to hit tomorrow with Xavier? Yeah, sure, good idea. Now, Roger always enjoyed hitting with Xavier. Xavier is an easygoing guy. He gives players rhythm in practice. Just one of the most liked guys on the tour is Xavier Malisse. So anyway, I don't tell Xavier, this is the story. And we're on our way the next day to practice in the car. And Xavier asked me, who am I practicing with this morning? So I said, Roger Federer. So he had a little bit of a laugh and he thought that was funny because Roger gave him a beat down the week and a half before in Monte Carlo. So, it really, if you want to say, took Xavier's confidence away. So he laughed and he said, no, seriously, who am I hitting with today? And I said, Roger. And I don't think Xavier was happy at the beginning. He was like, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to steal my confidence? I mean, here I am at a tournament. You put me with one of the greatest of all time. And now what? He gave me a beat down last week. What are you doing, Allistair? Is that real coaching? Anyway, long story short, we get to the practice. Of course, when you practice with Roger Federer, there's probably 2,000 people watching. Even there's more people watching Roger's practices at tournaments than there is actually watching matches. That's how big the guy is. So the court is packed. Everybody hears it. Everybody checks out the practice schedule of Rafa, of Novak, of Roger, Serena, all these big players to see where they'll be practicing and what time. So even before we get to the practice court, it's full with people, full with Roger supporters. So we warm up, and at that time, Paul Anacohen was working with Roger, and they warm up and decide to play some points. Roger starts serving. Xavier breaks him 1-0. Xavier serves 2-0, 3-0, 4-0, 4-1, 5-1, 6-1 Xavier. Now, yes, I get it. This is practice. Who cares? But 6-1 up, Xavier is playing lights out in practice. Anyway, second set, 3-1 for Xavier. Paul Anacohen decides to stop the practice. Roger's not happy with himself. That camp is, not happy. And anyway, confidence back for Xavier. He's super happy. I can't believe he played that well. Now, I get it. It's practice. So, you can say, well, it only counts in the match. Anyway, it gave Xavier great confidence. He won his 2 rounds in qualifications, won 2 rounds in the main draw, and played Roger. Third round, it was a great match. Roger beat him. Roger went on to win the title that year, so that's just how incredible he is. So anyway, that was the third encounter. My fourth encounter with Roger was in Dubai, and I was with Svetlana Kuznetsova, the 2-time Grand Slam champion. Svetlana would have her off-season training in Dubai in December, the weather being so good, facilities being great. And Roger also does his off-season training in Dubai. And it's actually at the Jumeirah, which is an amazing facility. And my encounter there with him was that every day for 2.5 weeks, I got to watch his practices next door to us because Svetlana and Roger were practicing next to each other. And what really struck me was his intensity in his practices, his ability to be learning more. Now here, for me at that stage, was the greatest of all time, number 1 in the world, and he's still asking a lot of questions. He's still studying the game. He still wants to get better. But what happened after each practice, because Roger knew that I was from South Africa as well, is that we'd play some cricket. After each practice, we'd play cricket. He'd use his tennis racket as a bat. I'd bowl. There'd be a few guys around the court acting as catchers and slips and so on and so forth. But that was my fourth encounter with the great man was we got to spend time with him in Dubai. You know, he's just the most fun-loving guy, generous, great sense of humor. What really strikes me about Roger is, and this strikes me about people that are incredibly famous that are still so humble, so kind, is that imagine that every single place you go, somebody wants a photo with you, somebody wants an autograph with you, everybody wants a piece of you. At the airports, restaurants, tournaments, you can go nowhere. You can't even go down to your corner supermarket. But I have never seen Roger or Rafa for that point turn down a signature or stop for a photo. And, you know, we just can't put ourselves in their shoes of just how crazy hectic it must be. But he's always got time for his fans and supporters, and that's something that I will always take from the great man Roger Federer. The final one actually came at the US Open again, and I was working with Alex Bogomolov at that time, and we'd been practicing with Andy Roddick, and it was actually Andy's last year on the tour. Andy and Alex were good friends, so we got to practice with Andy in Winston-Salem 2 or 3 weeks before, and then we got to practice with Roger or Andy in the US Open. And I think it was on the Louis Armstrong court. And we heard this noise about 5 minutes before the end of the practice of just like a stampede. And what it was, we knew it was either Roger or Rafa. Because at any tournament, when you just hear a noise and people rushing somewhere, there's craziness going on, you know that Roger Federer or Rafa Nadal is coming to a practice court. And it was Roger himself. And Roger came onto the court, and this is the class of the man, is that he goes up to each person on the court, says hi, how you doing, has a smile, just that personal touch. I mean, the greatness of the guy. Now, yes, you can say I'm fanboying here or whatever, but for me, it's not about the greatness of a player. It's about the greatness of a person. Those are the things I will always remember about great athletes, and just the personal touch that Roger took. Actually, I have one more, and it wasn't an encounter. It's just something I observed when I was sitting in the Players' Lounge in Rome. I don't know when it was, maybe 2013 or 2012. And there was a lady at the coffee machine who was struggling to operate the coffee machine. Now, hey, Italy, coffee, it goes hand in hand. There's some amazing coffee in that Players' Lounge in Rome, by the way. And Roger was walking past the lady, and he saw that she was struggling. And he stopped to help her unload the coffee machine, put in a new filter. And I was just sitting there just in awe of this guy. He's got better things to do. He's a busy man. But I'm sure for this particular woman, a great memory indeed. So there you have it. There are my 5 encounters with the great man Roger Federer. I hope you enjoyed that. 2 last quick reminders. If you want to hear more on Roger Federer, remember I interviewed his coach Ivan Ljubicic on episode 116 on the Champion Minded podcast. And my book, Lead with Purpose, Make an Impact, is available on Amazon on the 25th of November 2021. This podcast is available on iTunes, Amazon Podcasts, YouTube, and via my website, allistairmccaw.com. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it. I always appreciate your posts on social media. And until next time, remember, you were made for greatness. Now go do the work. Stay champion-minded.